Today, we wax nostalgic about a future event that is never going to happen. Next on the Atheist Viewpoint. Hi, and welcome to the Atheist Viewpoint. I'm your host, Ron Barrier.
I'm Dennis Horvitz.
Our co-host. And today's show, we're going to start off, since essentially you will be viewing this program probably after Memorial Day 2011. A radio personality by the name of Harold Camping had set into motion a mass hysteria among some Christians that the rapture was going to begin on May 21st, 2011. Of course, all this culminating in the end of the world in October 2011. Well, obviously, if you're watching this show right now, he's full of crap. And he's always been full of crap, and he was wrong. There is no rapture. I mean, again, this show is being taped beforehand. I plan, and I don't know what you're doing in the city, Dennis, but I plan to sit in a nice long chair and maybe, some stroke of luck, see a few Christians floating into the sky.
I'm sure by now I've been raptured.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm sure or maybe I'll just be floating, but probably for a different reason.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see these Christians floating up into the sky because I think the vertical limit is 29,000 feet where the body is either crushed or exploded because of the air pressure. So I would suggest also on May 21st, if you see people floating up, break out your umbrellas.
Hello.
Right.
I just want you to know that on my way over here to the studio, I went through Times Square and I managed to get all of these pamphlets.
They're all out there in Times Square, huh?
Oh, they're in fact, it was the Camping's People, Family Radio and .radio.com and all that.
Did anyone was willing to go into contract with you to let you take possession of all their belongings and bank accounts and everything the next day?
You know, I was in such a hurry to get here that I didn't get a chance.
Because I tell you, if I would have met any one of them straight face to face, I would have put it right to them. You believe in this stuff? Sign on a dotted line, and May 22nd, I take over your car, your home, your bank accounts, your business, and even camping, I would take over your radio shows. But you know what? They're not going to do it. Right. Because when push comes to shove, they really don't believe.
Do you know, I heard, actually I saw on the internet a couple of years ago, and this is entirely legitimate. There supposedly is an organization that has been put together specifically to take care of the pets of people who have been raptured.
Really?
This is on the level. There's people... I guess for a certain amount of money that they will, insurance, and the rapture is going to happen within X amount of time. And
so they think they're not going to be raptured, or they're non-Christian?
Well, they are I assume non-Christians, atheists probably, and supposedly this is a legitimate deal that they have set up. It's possible to make arrangements with them so that your pets will be taken care of if you are raptured. So. Go for it. I think that's very nice.
I'd rather go for the material goods, the bank accounts, the automobiles. I could give my wife a nice new car or for some Christian who float her off into the atmosphere. It would be wonderful, but not one of them, not one, like I said, when push comes to shove, will put their name on the dotted line and say, I believe in this so much. Yes, you can take over everything I own.
But only if your mortgage is paid off.
Oh, I heard that somebody called Harold Camping and asked that should they stop paying their mortgage. But I don't know. I would figure it all depends on when the mortgage is due. If it's due at the end of the month, you do have time to wait and see if it happens before you pay. If your mortgage is due, say, May 15th, you could try not paying it. But I wouldn't do that if I were you.
No, I wouldn't do that.
However, what really irks me more about camping and these... first of all, before we go into this, I know, Dennis, one thing that Christianity has done perfectly well throughout the ages, and that is be wrong every time they make these crazy predictions.
You know, and I have, we won't have time to go into this, but I have a list of like lots of failed predictions over the years. In fact, one of the lists I have, unfulfilled predictions, I think it covers, I got it from religioustolerance.org, and it's titled 44 Failed and One Ambiguous End of the World Predictions That Were to Occur Between the Year 30 and 1920 CE. And that's just that period alone. That's not the thousands of others that have come since, you know. So we'll get into some of those.
All right, so none of these Christians who buy into the camping thing, is it that they're oblivious to the fact that none of these predictions have ever come true, including a previous prediction by Camping himself? So that since they've been all wrong, now I don't understand the thinking. Now, if somebody came to me and said they've been wrong every time about something, I'm certainly not going to place any trust in them at all.
Well, there's an article that I got on the internet by Jonathan M. Seidel from a website called The Blaze, and it's in regard to this one particular person. His name is Robert Fitzpatrick, and it says that Robert Fitzpatrick is convinced the world will end this Saturday, May 21st, 2011.
Oh, that's the man from Staten Island.
Yes, he's convinced, and he's poured his life savings into letting people in New York City know.
$140,000.
$140,000.
If he was a true Christian, Dennis, wouldn't he have taken that $140,000 and go in to some of the most desolate parts of the city and give poor families $10,000 each to 14 different families so they can enjoy their final week instead of being a nut and now wasting all his money for this coup?
Well, you know, the thing is this too, and there are so many conflicting points of view about the end of time, the end of days. Some say that only 144 people will actually be raptured.
144?
144.
144,000.
I'm sorry, did I say 144,000?
That's the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I think so.
Millions of Jehovah's Witnesses, but only like a select 144.
I know that I think they do, but I think there may be other groups that also accept it. But that's so basically there are people who believe that
so heaven has limits.
If you're going to be saved, you're going to be saved, and so basically this broadcasting Judgment Day isn't going to save anybody who wasn't already destined to be saved.
So heaven has geographical limits and only room for 144,000.
I don't know about room. I think it has more to do with whether you're in the club or not.
Now considering many Americans are overweight, does the weight factor join into it? That people were a lot thinner back then with this 144,000, and now that everyone's overweight, they may want to trim it down to maybe 94,000.
Yeah, because when you ate goat meat, you didn't usually get a side of fries with it.
Right.
So,
okay. That's very interesting. You know, I have a few things here with this man Robert Fitzpatrick, and you know, I'm almost embarrassed, but I'll say it, I'm from Staten Island, New York, and to have this kind of foolishness going on is really embarrassing. He says. Let me see now. Fitzpatrick remains convinced that the beginning of the end is coming next week. It'll start just before midnight, Jerusalem time. So now that's pretty good because Camping says it's 6 p.m. local time for him.
Okay, so what did he say? What time Jerusalem time?
Midnight Jerusalem time. Now, is there a time thing called Jerusalem time?
Wait a minute now. When it's midnight Jerusalem time, I think they're 7 hours ahead of us.
Right.
So,
so we would be at like 6, 7 in the morning. No?
Wait a minute. 11?
No, if they're ahead.
Midnight. So that would be okay. So,
now Camping is on the West Coast now, so I had another 3 hours.
Yeah,
from
now
us here.
I've totally confused myself.
Right, because Camping said around 6 p.m., 6:30 local time, California time.
So that would be if it's 11 p. If it's 12 midnight on the 21st in Jerusalem,
and they're 7 hours ahead,
then it would have to be
about 5 p.m. here in New York.
5 p.m.
Here in New York,
so
which put it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Camping's time.
which would make it happen on the 20th here.
You know, it
Okay.
reminds me of a family discussion one time when during the millennial thing. I have a family member who's an evangelical and who said that don't you think anything is going to happen at midnight? And my question is, well, what midnight? There's 24 time zones. If it's going to start at midnight, that means Guam goes first. So if Guam goes first, and then there's like Hong Kong and Singapore, and them, we'll know about it, you know.
Yeah.
But this guy, look at this. This is how petrified, and how intellectually
Impoverished.
Shredded.
Yeah.
I mean, intellectually shredded this man
Flaked.
is. It'll start just before midnight Jerusalem time, and it'll be instantaneous and global, which means it's going to be midnight Jerusalem time all at once everywhere. Never mind the sun and the moon and all the other things.
Right.
Similarly, convinced followers in the city have also been spreading his doomsday prediction, which you've run into these people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just unbelievable. He says, I'm trying to warn people about what's coming. People who have an understanding of the end times have an obligation to warn everyone.
In the article that I have, it says he was asked, so how does Fitzpatrick react to questions about camping being wrong in the past? And he says, quote, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it.
Denial.
That's what he told the New York Post,
See?
I guess.
And that's the difference between an atheist and a Christian. We will ask the tough questions. He doesn't even want to think about the tough questions. He also says in another article, Judgment Day will surprise people. We will not be ready for it. Well, he apparently is. He blew 140 grand on this.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's, you know, we're making fun, but, you know, that's really sad. That is tragic.
It is tragic, and it shows a deep, deep embedded, so deeply embedded immorality that comes along with this type of religious belief, because these people actually believe that they're going to gain something at someone else's expense. We atheists have a name for that. It's called greed. Okay? And this is so
One-upsmanship.
embedded with greed that we gain and you lose. We win and you lose. See, this is the whole basis of this theistic thinking. It's about winning and losing. There's no cooperation there. There's no love. There's no anything. It's winning and losing. And if you disagree, like you read with some of the letters with David on the last show, if you disagree, you'll go to hell. You know, that's all there is to it. There was one letter, you know, I was perusing some of the letters while you did while you doing it, and one of them had the whole thing that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. All right. They're forcing you. They're saying you have no choice. Either you go along with it, or we are going to force you to do this, or our loving, compassionate God, who, for lack of real creativity, killed his own son for our benefits, is going to force you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, this is to me, camping right now is the most immoral person on earth.
I think he's just senile.
You know, he is senile. But this whole doomsday scenario is immoral. What kind of philosophy derives thrills from destruction, from violence?
But the thing is, it's not just camping. It's people
There's a
who
lot of
buy
them.
it. Who
Yeah,
buy it.
Who buy it?
I mean, he's predicted in 1994 that that it would happen. But he says here in this. I got this from Wikipedia. He's presented several arguments, and one of which I will only. It's so complicated that it's actually kind of amusing. It says that one of the arguments he uses in favor of May 21st is that, one, according to camping, the number 5 equals atonement, the number 10 equals completeness, and the number 17 equals heaven.
Really?
Christ is said to have hung on the cross on April 1st, April Fool's Day apparently. The time between April 1st, 33 AD and April 1st, 2011 is 1,978 years. If 1,978 is multiplied by 365.2422 days, the number of days in a solar year, not to be confused with the lunar year. The result is 722,499. The time between April 1st and May 21st is 51 days.
Really?
51 added to 722,499 is 722,500. And 5 times 10 times 17 squared, or atonement times completeness times heaven squared, also equals 722,500.
Really?
So that's it. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that's very interesting. When I really think about that, I want to stick pencils in my eyes at the insanity that is behind this stupidity.
And that's just one of his deals. But this is not. This is. I mean, this is. He's not the first one to come up with this stuff. I mean, people have been doing this for literally centuries. And,
so what we have here really is a history of barbarians who wish for violence against those who do not think the way they do,
or the people who just simply buy into it, who just gullible, just.
Well, we do have gullible societies. I mean, Morris Berman, to me, Morris Berman is one of the great sociologists of our time. And back in the mid-'90s, he wrote a book, and I really, really recommend that you pick up Morris Berman's book, The Twilight of American Culture. And I had the same reaction to his books that I had when I first joined American Atheists some 20-some-odd years ago. And I was reading some of the writings of Madeline O'Hare. Now, let's get this straight. Madeline Murray O'Hare, we do not consider her a prophet or anything. You know, she just started a very vital and important organization. But a lot of the stuff she said has, in fact, materialized. In fact, I bet you Madeline Murray O'Hare, if we were to go fact for fact with a dope like Camping, Madeline O'Hare would probably wipe the floor up with him.
Right.
Or, as the expression I heard on a radio show, somebody discussing it, he was wiped up with the floor.
Yeah, yeah. You know, but this is the thing that it's also important to mention that not all Christian groups agree with him.
No, they don't. This is just one of the more fouler, in my opinion,
and
fouler
extreme,
theological offshoots.
One group called an evangelical group called Got Questions Ministries oppose him because they believe that his entire method of the Bible interpretation is flawed.
And they have the correct method?
Well, I don't know, but it says that Harold Camping. This group says Harold Camping employs an allegorical method of interpreting Scripture. Because of this method, the meaning of any Scripture passage is purely subjective, subject to the mind and imagination of the person.
Oh, just like the concept of God.
Like the whole bang, yeah.
Or
the
like the whole theological field.
The whole shoot match, as they say.
Yeah.
Camping's use of an allegorical method of interpretation for Scripture, especially for unfulfilled prophecy, is fatally flawed. It undermines the very nature of communication. God gave us His Word to communicate very specific information. So why doesn't He?
You know, this is. You know, we should have an awards show at the end of the year, and I think Harold Camping has to be one of the candidates for Boneheads.
He's in the running, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the running.
According to this Wikipedia article, followers of Camping claim that around 200 million people, approximately 3% of the world's population, will be raptured. All
right, so we get rid of the rabble. maybe that's God's way of vacuuming the dirt off the planet.
Maybe he's sympathetic to atheists.
Yeah, right. He says, I got to get these people out of your hair.
But I have lists of prophecies. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, May 21st will come and go, and then either Camping or somebody else will come along.
Somebody else, yeah.
I mean, basically the whole idea. I mean, it's boilerplate. Somebody makes a prediction, the day comes and goes, and they reset the clock. That's how it's done.
Maybe Camping and Glenn Beck are related.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, don't even get me started.
But you know, Camping's not the only pastor, because
most
of these pastors. Now, I'm not saying they're bad people. Okay, probably a nice guy, hasn't committed a crime.
They really believe.
You know, he believes in everything, but they are just so profoundly ignorant. We have a thing here, just to get off a little bit. This is from the American Atheist Quarterly. And on it is a picture of a church bulletin board. You know, the ones that, especially prevalent down south where they have these bulletins on the outside. And this is from the Hayfield Assembly of God. And the billboard says, "God does not believe in atheists, therefore atheists do not exist."
Oh, that's very clever.
The amount of ignorance packed into that one sentence is staggering. First of all, the pastor presumes to know what his God, who is simultaneous, who he would claim is also incomprehensible, believes. And he comes to the conclusion that, of course, God doesn't believe in atheists and that atheists do not exist. Of course, we do. We could walk in his church. He could see us, many people. We are. Atheism,
It's a nice
atheists, we can be objectively observed. Okay?
Yeah.
We can be measured, we can be tested. We're here.
Well, it's a nice little catchphrase.
It's a stupid catchphrase.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's not about thought. It's about emotions. I mean, somebody said that, and I don't remember who said this, but basically,
right.
when you walk into a house of worship, you hang up your brains.
You do hang up your brains.
It's not about rational thought, and it's a nice little catchphrase to comfort the people who are kind of threatened by atheists, you know.
You know, we're down to the final 2 minutes, Dennis, and I know we've pretty much been hammering this whole thing. And just this week, as reported in the news, Stephen Hawking, the famous scientist and theoretical astrophysicist, I guess, or whatever he is. I mean, he's a brilliant, brilliant man. Not perfect. No one's perfect. But
theoretical physicist, I think.
Okay, he explained that there is no God and that humans should therefore seek to live the most valuable lives they can while on Earth. And I like to close with his, he read that religion or faith in God and the afterlife is for people who are afraid of the dark. Atheists are not afraid of the dark. Atheists will go where angels and believers fear to tread. And on that note, I'd like to thank you, Dennis, for joining me.
Well,
you know, and also I would like to thank American Atheists for providing this opportunity for us to voice our views and to call a spade what it is. Because, you know, I came across someone recently this week and they said, well, you never know. And I looked at them and I said, yes, I do know. And this rapture is not happening.
Right.
You know. So on that, Dennis, and on behalf of myself, Ron Barrier, David Silverman, and the American Atheists, we bid you good night.
Bye-bye.
I wish we could have museum and library trips. We could, you know, join up and say, hey, we're going to take kids to the library and the museum and get them in there and tell them, no, creationism didn't happen. No, sorry. Do you know who Charles Darwin? You don't know who Charles Darwin was? Really? Okay, let me tell you about Charles Darwin. He believed that black people were people and weren't inferior. Let's talk about that. You didn't write papers on that? Your history teachers didn't tell you that, your biology? We need to tell the history. We need to re-inject the fact that there are atheists all through history, and some of those atheists are darker colored people. I'm going to stop with this last point because I really do want to answer some questions if there are any. One of the things that you hear a lot, particularly in political debate, a get out of jail free card, other than God wants it so, is black folks, you're so angry. You need to just get over that slavery thing. I argue, I'm not diminishing the enslavement and subjugation of human beings. I'm not diminishing that. But I argue that Protestant work ethic that wanted to exploit labor, that Christianity that said, oh, you are our sheep, and every white man is your master shepherd. I'd argue that black folks need to get over the influence of Christianity in the U.S., which had a lot to do with that so-called peculiar institution. But we got a lot of work. It's uphill, but please, let's come out. Wear an A. Wait till somebody asks you what it means. Some of us will be wearing more loud, obnoxious T-shirts because we just like to. So please, I stand open to questions. Bring them.
Hey, Jamila.
Hey, hey.
Hey, I have so many questions I want to ask, but I'm only going to ask one because then I get to have my private interview with you, right?
Indeed.
All right. Um, the thing that I've been wanting for black folk to tell me is that this is an urban legend. I really want you to tell me this is an urban legend. Do you remember that big controversy about the Hallmark card? And the NAACP was the women were like they're calling them black holes and they need holes. Please tell me that's an urban legend.
It's not an urban legend. I forget the entire thing, but Hallmark has two cute little characters called Hoops and Yo-Yo. And They have a card that was singing, and the punchline of the joke, I don't remember the joke, but the punchline was it went into a black hole or
Yeah,
something.
it was a graduation card, and they were like black holes because black holes are powerful, and they were like black holes are gonna take over.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and these women did not. They were saying you can hear the word hole, and you can hear that, and I was like, this is why the church is a problem. Because these
It is. I
women-
mean, the church is a problem because they're protesting stupid stuff.
Yeah.
When you have black children who cannot read, when you have black women with no retirement accounts giving their money to an organization where the pastor drives a car more expensive than their home, and they're protesting a Hallmark card.
Yeah, and they didn't know, and the fact that they didn't know science. The word wasn't familiar.
That's a science punchline.
Right, exactly.
And black folk, black women, black church people didn't get it. I am shocked. Yes, thank you.
So first of all, wonderful talk. Thank you so much. I have a question having to do with what the atheist movement can do to be more welcoming of, African Americans and generally more diverse population. And there's been some discussion in the atheist. Well, there's no atheist community, but
Yeah.
for the sake of argument.
For the purposes of this conversation.
There's been some debate about whether we should be trying to provide something that's like a church, like communities that provide the things that churches provide, a weekly meeting where there's somebody talking and there's, counseling available and childcare available and so on. Do you think that would be something that would be useful, or do you think that people who already aren't going to church aren't going to be interested in atheist
I argue that
substitute?
it's useful. I argue that it's useful. I argue that its utility is limited. If I don't have kids, I don't care if you've got child care. I have a child who likes other children. He's kind of cute. Has all his shots. Your kids can play with him. And so that's attractive. Not everyone is a joiner. But weekly meetings, I would love them. I would love them. I am a social person. I talk all the time. I love to talk to new people so I can tell the same jokes that didn't go over the first time. So for me, I think that's good. I think having more options is at the heart of the matter, and I think that having this community that meets a lot, or having this community that all they do is make protest signs and march because they're damn mad, and I think having this community that might not be out too much, but you can count on them to connect you with people who can publish your letters or whatnot. We need a bunch of communities, we need a bunch of options, and that is a wonderful start. Thank you.
Hi. My adopted son is a 25-year-old black man, and he's an agnostic, but I'm wondering how to get him involved in movement and stuff.
Cute girls. Cute girls. Or if he likes boys, cute boys.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I have enough cute girls to someone what he already has. No, but really, he is an agnostic, but he doesn't. I get the impression he doesn't actually say that. I get the impression that he thinks this sort of thing is a white thing. So, and I'm not sure how to counteract that.
You can't counteract. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. I appreciate your feeling. It might be when someone walks into a meeting and everyone resembles more you, sir, than they do me. You have an age thing, you have a gender thing, you have a perceived class thing, and somebody, 25-year-olds, you're a marketing god whenever you figure out how to wrangle them. Everybody wants 25-year-olds. Cute girls work really well, cute boys work really well, whoever, whatever. I think that's a really hard time, but I do think that seeing people who look more like him is also going to help. And this cute little, I love when people bring their kids. You know, I got a microphone. I'll be louder than her. Don't you take her out. You know, I love that. You know, I love seeing, you know, just something as simple as, you know, be who you are. I love that. Be honest about who you are. If you are you, be you. And when people see something they feel a kinship with, and there's enough similarity, they'll join you too. Oh, no, please, no. Okay. Okay, I'll answer more quickly. Okay, we're going to power through time. Okay.
Thank you. Wonderful talk. You mentioned earlier how women were kind of attracted to churches because they've got music and food and fashion and you
Great hats.
Right, and how we need to be more real and honest about it. I want to get your comment on a documentary I saw on HBO by Chris Rock called Good Hair. And
Time out. Okay, I'm going to answer quickly. April 28th, I've got a story in the New York Times talking about the role of YouTube bloggers on those of us who wear our hair naturally and the products that they suggest and the financial aspect behind that. I can go on and on and on about that. I've got a stack of, I was on Deadline yesterday for this story. I've got a whole lot about it. I love this thing. It was awesome, but that's tangential and I want to get another question, but I'm going to find you and talk about that.
right, thank you.
Next.
Real quick, and just, I want to shortcut, I understand your community comments, so I'm going to shortcut. I'm going to use community as a shortcut. In hearing, you know, you talk about the black community, as an outsider looking in, I see a lot of parallels between that and also the Hispanic community. And I'm just wondering if maybe that couldn't be leveraged in trying to work together to maybe, I don't know, draw in more people.
Dr. Henry Louis Gates just did a documentary on PBS about the Black, Latino, Latin American connection. And there are a number of issues that have made those communities work very well together. There are a number of issues, jobs, that have made those communities very hard to get together. I think there are indeed parallels that could work, but I want to come back to my point of let people see people who resemble them. Let people find a kinship and they will come. Oh, okay. Thank you. Please, if I didn't answer your question, fine.
Now don't be too disappointed because next is our diversity panel.